Well, this week, the country made a big decision. You had Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. We went Donald Trump. But at the end of the day, there's still one guy out there that matters more than any of them, and that's my man, Jerome Powell. Took the stage, the podium yesterday at 2:30 p.m. We'll talk about what Powell said, the market reaction to a expected 25 basis point cut. We've got some more earnings to talk about. We're going to be talking some DraftKings. Got a bunch of other stocks that we are going to cover here today. We've got Christian Fromhertz, my man Dennis hanging out. Joel's going to be coming on in a little bit. So let's go ahead and get pre-market prep started. And we'll run through. And again, 2-hour show now. So any tickers you guys want, throw them in the chat. Any feedback about the new format of the show, feel free to leave it in the comments or send us an email. Let's go ahead and get the show on the road.
The volatility right now is really incredible.
Wow, look at that consolidation on the upper right chart.
You know what we've seen this earnings season? Some of these expected moves get even more violent. This is why I have switched my strategy 10 years ago. And if you're chasing, you're in trouble.
All right, let's go ahead and bring Dennis on the stream. Dennis, how you doing this morning? Oh, sorry.
Oh, we're bringing it in at the same time. We actually hit the button at the exact same time, so it brings me in and brings me out. I'm doing good here. I'm doing good. And we've also got, again, for us today, Christian Fromhertz filling in for Joel Alconin here. And Christian, how are you doing this morning?
Good morning, boys. Well, I mean, it's Friday. It's been I feel like it's been a long week.
We went from being Benzinga Monday morning to being on our own channel Friday. This has been like a wild for AB too. AB looks tired. You need some sleep this weekend, buddy. This has been a wild week for you too.
His hair looks like a level C today. I think it was. I think I saw level D earlier in the week, and yeah, so wild hair, and I'm kind of judging the volatility by Aaron's hair.
That's it. We got the new AB hair indicator. We used to have the Denny hair indicator, but now it's the AB hair indicator. Yeah, smash that like button, folks. This is how we're gonna get the show and keep it free for you guys, obviously, by liking and sharing and getting some eyes here. So if you can, obviously share and like the show. So where do you want to start? Christian, give us maybe a little summary of what has happened overnight since everybody else was sleeping. And let's jump into it.
Cool. So, just looking at S&P futures, I mean, we're basically flat right here. I don't know if you can share
share it.
Shared.
It takes a second.
Okay. Pretty quiet, I think, overnight. I mean, we've gotten so much information over the last week that I think we're due for a little bit of like digestion. And I think that most people too. I mean, I didn't see a lot of people like tweeting out charts and so forth, because I think it's last night, because it's been such a big move the last couple days that, I kind of feel like we might be due for a little bit of digestion. Also, earnings reports, which we're going to get to, you can see NASDAQ futures they're just down slightly. Russell futures are down about the same. So you could just see that things look like they're a little bit overbought here in the short term. And, all these earnings reports that we got last night from a lot of like growth name. I think last night's earnings reports more shifted towards growth names, which we're going to get to. But those are the big moves. Like, I don't see many like crazy moves. I see crude is down about 1.8%. Copper's also down another 2.2%. And, gold did come back yesterday, but is down a little bit this morning. And then finally, just looking at bonds really quickly. Interesting that bonds were actually rallied pretty decently yesterday, and they're rallying again this morning. So, I always kind of look at, that's one of the top things that I look at outside of equities is what bonds are doing. And we're retracing a lot of that initial move that we saw after the election day.
Yeah. I mean, let's get into Fed speak here, because this was, the mover yesterday. We got Powell. We got the quarter interest rate cut here that the market was expecting. What did you think, Christian, first of like the tone? Like, what did you get a feel from? Is like this like one and done for a while? Or do you think, what was your feeling, from the presser?
I thought it was kind of just one of the quietest, not necessarily Q&A, but just in terms of the overall Fed meeting. Like, it just felt like they were doing the 25 basis points, and there's not really much to add. And I was paying a little bit less attention than I normally do to, normally I'm definitely like hanging on what Powell is saying and every word, but I kind of just was like, I just felt like he was going to say that, that they're going to watch inflation. And he got a lot of political questions yesterday, and that's where it was kind of centered around. That's where the most of the attention was, about whether he's going to be staying on, and he answered that very abruptly. I also thought the
No.
length.
He just
Yeah,
said
yeah,
no.
yeah,
Are you gonna?
yeah,
No. If he asks you to resign, are you gonna resign? No. I
yeah.
was like,
And then they were like, "Can you expand on that?" And he's like, "Yeah, no."
that was funny. That was the funniest part of the whole presser, I thought.
But his press conference, it only, like, I keep track of how long he normally speaks. He normally goes to about 3:20 to 3:30, Eastern time, and he stopped yesterday at 3:13. So it was a shorter press conference. But yeah, I think the main takeaway from that is, after the 25 basis points, what is that it for a while, considering we don't know about what's going to happen going forward with inflation, with the tariffs and so forth. Was that you,
Yeah.
Dennis?
Yeah, I think so. Just the unknown here, obviously. We're going to have an administrative change in the new year. I think the Fed probably plays the wait and see game too. If we're going to get hard on tariffs here, that can change things in a hurry. And like I was saying yesterday, I mean, and again, we're just hypothetical situation scenario analysis, but if you're thinking about it logically, if you're going to bring in some hard tariffs here, that can start to cause inflation. So, I mean, maybe the Fed sits back and sees, what we're doing. And again, the talk of, and where we're probably going to be on the tariffs is probably a much different story. But even to that trade, and maybe, AB, this is probably a natural segue into China here this morning too, because China stocks are getting hit pretty hard here this morning. I'm somewhat concerned about the tariffs. I tweeted that out yesterday, and I actually lightened up a little bit of my China exposure. But the reason the China stocks are down today is it came out with this stimulus plan that everybody was expecting, and it really didn't, move the needle as much as I think investors were hoping. So if you want to really know where the overnight weakness is, don't look any farther than the KWEB here. KWEB trading down 4.8%. The big names, Alibaba down $4, Baidu down $2.50, Pinduoduo trading down $4. So it's fairly significant, the sell-off here in the China markets this morning. AB, what are your thoughts on China here? We'll throw it to you.
Yeah, I mean, so like you said, China passed this, stimulus package in a way to essentially protect the economy from U.S. policies, and that was I think initially there was a little bit of a positive reaction to some of these stocks, but then I think it was just something that, didn't do enough to really give investors confidence that these stocks will be investable. If there are, like you said, we still don't know. There's so much uncertainty about the tariffs, and we know that stocks do not like uncertainty. They like to know whether it's one way or the other if you're going to get these tariffs. And so this, economic stimulus package, it was basically with market estimates ranging from 6 trillion yuan to over 10 trillion yuan. And despite recent economic hurdles, senior officials remain optimistic about meeting a 5% growth target. So I don't know. I think it's like one of those things, like if you go back to when COVID hit, there were times where the Fed pumped like $500 billion or whatever into the market, and the SPY went like this and then just kept going down. I think it's kind of similar to that, because there's just so much uncertainty, like if they do impose these tariffs, what it means for these Chinese companies, and just overall weakness this morning. Not enough, basically, is what the market is saying.
Like I took yesterday as the opportunity here to lighten up a bit. Again, as we get new information in the market, investment thesis changes. And I think under a Trump administration, I feel like China stocks aren't going to do as well as they would have under a Harris. So what you had was the initial sell-off yesterday or 2 days ago on, obviously, if you look at even Alibaba, for instance, maybe just have Alibaba up there, sold off significantly, on the Trump, obviously, election news. And yesterday, snapback rally, got all the losses back. And I'm like, I think it's a gift. And that's why I lightened up Alibaba. I only have two China stocks in my long-term portfolio. It's Alibaba and Baidu. So I do have EEM as well, but that's obviously emerging markets, which isn't just China. That's, you know, all the way across the board over in Asia. But when I'm looking, you know, at Alibaba and I'm thinking, well, if they are going to get harder on tariffs, I don't think it's a good thing for, you know, the China stocks. So lightening up my exposure. Didn't sell them all. I sold half my Alibaba and I sold probably close to half my Baidu as well. So just lightened up the exposure. Again, long term, these stocks are really cheap. So it's hard to go to zero here. But I just think short term, and maybe even, you know, for the next little while here, new administration, maybe there's some nervousness. There was some great tweets, you know, saying, you know, that China actually performed fairly well under Trump last time from 2016 to 2020. So, I mean, you can make that argument that it's not going to matter overall, and these companies do have decent valuations, so I can respect that argument as well. Christian, what are your thoughts here? I mean, what are your thoughts on the China trade? Maybe just break it down technically.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I was showing both FXI, which is what you've got in front of you right now, and KWeb. And notice where they start this. So right here is where we started the week. I kind of refer to this as chutes and ladders because we're right back to where we started for the week. And
Yeah.
I think that some markets are going to do this a little bit. They're going to kind of trade around a range. I mean, here's KWeb. I don't know why it rallied so much yesterday, but it was real, maybe on those expectations that the stimulus was supposed to be bigger than it was. But the bottom line is this is where we started the week. It's flat for the week. So I think that we're going to see some of these markets try to figure out, you know, where this is going, and it may take a little while, right? You know, and again, I think some of these things you have to be patient. One area too that I thought was interesting too was Mexico. Did you see the candle on this is EWW? This is the Mexico.
Yeah, I know we were having trouble seeing the ticker symbols. I don't know this FXI that's in the corner.
I'll see if I'll change that once we start going over earnings. But I just need to figure out where the setting is. But this
here, you know what? Let me take over the charts here just for a second because I think you can see them a little bit clearer because the charts look good, but we just can't see the ticker symbols. We're still work in progress here. Christian will get that figured out. I'm just going to take over for a quick second here. So presenting.
But bottom line, like that's one of the regions or countries that's really in the crosshairs in terms of, you know, the political stuff going on, and that had a major reversal on strong volume in that EWW, the Mexico.
Yeah, coming up EWW right now.
I thought that was one of the most interesting international moves yesterday.
Yeah, here we'll go to the daily here and we can get you a good feel for, you know, where the EWW, we really bounced back yesterday. So what you saw a little bit yesterday overall, and we talked about this, was you had the initial move in a lot of stocks, the Trump stocks spiking, the Harris stocks tanking. Yesterday was a little bit of a, you know, reversal day. Like the banks were weak. You had EWW getting all of its losses back and then moving up. You know, you can see clearly here on the chart. Do you see these charts better? Can you see the ticker? I think you can see the ticker a little bit better.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a way, Dennis, on this one to get the, you know how like when Joel shows his charts, the ticker has a watermark on the center.
And Joel's back. Joel is back at 9 o'clock today, and then he's back all next week. So, you know, me and Christian have been trying to figure out the charts and showing, obviously they work for us, but when you're showing it on a screen, sometimes it's a little bit, you know, tricky here. But I mean, just going back to the point, so if you look, you know, at the banks yesterday, for instance, like JP Morgan might be the best example here. Let's bring up JP Morgan here. I mean, you obviously had the big spike up here, and then, you know, we pulled back down and obviously got down, you know, and gave back basically half the move, which, you know, and again, maybe it was the downgrade, you know, because they did get downgraded yesterday. That didn't help that. But I mean, it was a clear reversal day for a lot of stocks. And, you know, it wasn't obviously just, you know.
Bring up KRE. That's the regional bank ETF. It's a similar chart, but yeah, I mean, it's a great point. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, and you're seeing I've got a sell order, obviously, or something out there. Do you see my orders out there? Okay. Well,
we're gonna pick you off.
You're picking me off. Look, I cancel that, so you don't see my sell order anymore. When you show the IB charts, it shows where your orders are when you've got them up there. So, hey, that was me.
But I think to your point, like, you know, what was really strong yesterday was growth stocks, and the value stocks like the banks and so forth. They kind of gave back some of that move. And I would also, I'm really paying attention and closely watching IWM, because IWM loves to have these gap ups on events and on on economic news as well. But a lot of times there's not follow through after the event. So I'm wondering, because if you go back to I think it was the gap up day, right? IWM was up huge. It was up 5%. So I'm wondering if that's going to stick, or if it's going to kind of retrace a little bit and give back some of that gap up that we saw earlier in the week.
I don't know. Like, we did see a little bit of the retracement yesterday, which brings me to my point on Tesla. Like Joel was bringing up that it was kind of relatively weak off the bat compared to some of the mega cap techs. And I argued back at him. I don't know if you were on the show when we started doing this, Christian, but I was arguing back the fact that this has had a really big outsized move yesterday. I mean, even if you obviously go, just to the hourly here, and we can see it a little bit clearer. Yeah, this huge move. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that the thing consolidates for, a few hours here before having another move. And Tesla, what I was saying was, you were seeing retracements in like the banks. You were seeing retracements in the China trade. You were seeing retracements. You weren't seeing that in Tesla. Tesla was actually holding up flat, which I was really impressed, because if you group Tesla not against the mega cap techs, but against the Trump trade, it was holding up the best. And you know what ended up happening is Tesla started going up after that. So Tesla actually is the only one that really built on its rally here. And it tested that 300, man. It got so close, $299.75. Couldn't quite do it. I think it does it today.
I did get long Tesla yesterday.
You did. You're with me.
Yeah,
Nice.
so I'm long. I'm in my one portfolio. I've been long Tesla, and I'm staying long there. But I didn't have anything in my trading account. And the level that I was watching, as we talked about earlier in the week, was 290. Once we started to move north of 290, I went long. And just like we talked about yesterday with some of these names that are really moving and showing momentum, I just put my stop a little bit under 290, and I was basically good for the day. We didn't, once the initial move in the morning, we didn't retrace it. I was trying to take a little bit off around 300. We didn't get there.
Not
So,
quite.
yeah, I'll be watching that. And, I took a little bit of profits just to kind of leave myself room, because Tesla does like to jump around on a day-to-day basis. So, I want to have that flexibility. So if we come in one day and it's down 2 or 3%, I can add back a little bit. But that level for me, like for a momentum type trade, is 290.
So let's move to the earnings parade here. AB, we're going to throw this to you. Probably the one to start with, which reported right at 4 p.m., was Upstart. And it popped, and it kept popping for a bit. You'll see a couple trades that go off that you think it went lower, but it really didn't go. This little spike down here, I think, was a closing print trade. It spiked right at 4 p.m. and just started blasting off. Give us those earnings there, AB.
So Upstart reported an EPS of a loss of 6 cents that beat the estimates by 9 cents there. Revenue of 162 million that beat the estimates by about 12 million. And then they gave guidance, sees Q4 revenue approximately 180 million. The consensus was 162 million. So, you had the double beat there, and then raised guidance. Then you started to get some analysts coming in, upgraded to overweight from neutral at Piper Sandler. Let's see if we had any other big ones. I think that was like the biggest, analyst.
Yeah, that hit last night. So, and the expected move, it was a big one on this one too, was actually $10.70 was the expected move. So huge
about
move.
15%.
Yeah, it's so $10. So it's actually up the expected move. I mean, these expected moves are absolutely incredible. The earnings, like, it's hard to make money, buying options. I guess, if you would have bought the calls, you could buy them $5 and they're worth 10, but it's hard to make money, buying options. Christian, I think you were in the stock, weren't you?
Yes, so we talked about Upstart, we talked about Affirm in yesterday's show, and I did go long. I was long Upstart coming into yesterday, so it's always kind of difficult with a name that moves this much on earnings, whether or not you're going to hold. So I did take a little bit more profits before the call, and yeah, you're absolutely right about these things. In my opinion, if the implied move is as high as it is, And I think it was something around like 15% or something from my memory. But what I do is I make it into a call spread. And what I did yesterday was I have a trade that expires today. It's the 60-70 call spread. So again, I'll always, anytime I see earning that the implied move is like over 6 or 7%, I'm always doing either a call spread or like a call butterfly. So I did the 60-70 call spread, and that cost me about 260, which is not cheap. I took a little bit more risk because I had a gut feeling about Upstart, considering what Lemonade did and what Root did. So we'll see. Right now, I hope it stays up here around the 65. Where is it? We're trading around 65. I would love it if it goes back to those highs of the session, which are around 69.
You're just breaking up a little bit there, but we got the 60 to the 70. So have you taken this trade off?
No, I can't. I mean, I can't do anything.
Oh, you got the options. Yeah.
It's the 60.
Unless you're trying to hedge it with stock somehow, and you have to get pretty exotic when you got both sides on there. So will you be looking to take this trade off probably at the open then?
Close to it. I'll try to leg out of it a little bit, like right around the open, and then maybe, depending if it can kind of hold the 65 level, then I will be looking to kind of see if I can get more profits as the day goes on. But the trade expires today, so you have to be really careful with that.
Yeah. And then let's go to Affirm AB. So I'll bring
Yep.
up the chart while you give us the earnings for Affirm.
Give me 1 second to pull those earnings up. Of course, kind of similar businesses here. Affirm helping people with the buy now, pay later. Upstart giving personal loans. Affirm reported EPS of a loss of 31 cents. That beat the estimate, which was a loss of 35 cents. Sales came in at 698 million. That beat the 664 million estimate. Affirm said they see Q2 revenue from 770 million to 810 million. Sees fiscal year 2025 GMV of more than $34 billion. So Affirm, is pretty flat though, up only 2.3%. So the expected move here was 13.4%, which on about a $48 stock, you would say would be about like $5. And instead,
that's a lot.
Instead of getting a $5 move, we got a $1 move. So anyone on this one who bought calls or bought puts is probably going to open up with a losing trade here this morning.
Lots of interesting things here, and we'll talk strategy here again because I almost took the trade. So Upstart reported right at 4 p.m. and Affirm started popping. So Upstart was popping, and Affirm, like you said, AB, similar businesses here. So I do pair trade these two stocks a lot of times together. You go look at the long-term charts. They are very similar. When Upstart popped, Affirm actually, it's this candle. It went up to 51.5, not on its own earnings, but on the Upstart earnings. And I'm looking at this and thinking, man, they're buying this up $3. We still don't have the report. This is like 403, and Affirm didn't report till 405. I'm like, man, you're getting a 3-point lead. And all of a sudden, because Upstart's so much, you know how I always talk about that, it kind of instantaneously raises the bar for Affirm as well. Because if Upstart's earnings are really good, well, Affirm's got to be really good now too. So I almost did. I was like, do I do it? And then it reported. I was like, oh no. And then it tanked. And I'm like, I thought about it. And I was like, I was going to short it at 51. And then she tanked. And she went down, and she went down hard, straight down to 43, basically, in the next bracket. You can see down here. And then we settled. And Affirm is a loved retail stock. So it is actually predictable that a dip would probably get bought in something like this, because right now, let's talk overall market. We're at all-time highs. A lot of retail participation, a lot of love. They see Affirm down $5. People can't help themselves, and they're coming in. So it's actually kind of predictable that they bought the stock back. Christian, you still there in the background? What are your thoughts here on Affirm?
Yeah, it didn't have that initial pop, and it seems like folks are trying to figure out like what to do with this. But I thought the numbers were pretty good. You see some analysts raising prices a little bit. I see Susquehanna raise their price target to 57. So I don't think it's that same type of momentum. But I think, I do own a little bit of this. I put on a trade too in Affirm. I don't think that one's going to work. But I do own this one in my long-term account as well. And I think it will do okay. And again, right now, I think to your point, the market likes these kind of stocks for the time being.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to stick with it, but I don't want to see it really tank either. And let me see where on my chart what I've got for support. I mean, I want to see it really stay like above like the low 40 range, and I'm okay. Even better if it stays above 47. If not, I'll have to reassess.
It's not a bad call to look at overall market sentiment when you're trading these things as well. And that's, why, like if we were in like the Gatter and the S&Ps are trading near the lows of the month or something like that, and people are like, losing money, something like Affirm, the dip may not get bought. But when you're in this, money managers themselves, not even retail investors, but money managers as well, are underinvested, and they're looking for dips on darling names to buy. So, I mean, that's what you got to be considering here as well. And we are kind of coming out of earnings season. I mean, we had like 150 or 200 stocks report last night. We're going to get to the other ones too, like Square and Unity and Pinterest and Airbnb, Doximity's DKNG. But, next week, we still get some companies reporting too. I'm quickly just looking at the list here. You have like Monday.com. If you trade that one, always reports Monday on a Monday. I like that. It's kind of funny. But you got like Shopify next week. I mean, this is on Tuesday. Obviously, that's a retail darling stock as well. So if we stay in this market and Shopify dips on earnings, that's a dip that could potentially get bought. Spotify reports on Tuesday as well, and this stock has just been unbelievable. We can go out to the longer term chart on this one here too. I'll just take you out to the dailies just to give you a feel. But I mean, this has just been upper bottom, from the bottom of the chart to the top of the chart, $402 here. I mean, we're sitting near all-time highs too. The bar is high on some of these stocks though. So I mean, sometimes setups when they're going straight up into the earnings can be rough too. But I think if you get these post-earnings dips on some of these loved names, it may be an opportunity.
Can you bring up in the chat? Somebody mentioned Toast. I mean, this is another one that ran into the report, and it just speaks to your point that this is I hate to keep saying the same word, but it's momentum. Toast, you would normally think after running into the report the last couple days, you would think, oh, maybe it's a little bit, it's up too much going into the report. But damn, I think it's just a testament to the market that we're in, and then also like Toast, it kind of speaks to consumer discretionary. And right now, you've got a lot of consumer discretionary companies that are breaking out. The XLY ETF, which has a big chunk of Amazon and Tesla in it, but the consumer discretionary ETF XLY looks very strong. And I think of names like Toast are going up like this, where it's very discretionary because it's people who are, who are out dining, and not just like your casual dining, but sit down, nice, have a nice meal. By the way, I don't know why there's a Monday stock. I don't know why no one's has not come up with a Friday stock. To me, that would
we'd be along the Friday stock. Everybody likes Fridays. Well, there was TGI Fridays.
Oh, yeah,
remember?
That's right.
Is it still around? Did it get bought out, or what happened? Are those restaurants still around?
They just declared bankruptcy. So
did they really? I ate there a few times. It was pretty good.
But bottom
you remember that one, AB? TGI Fridays?
I remember. I don't remember the stock. I remember the restaurant. I think maybe went there like one time growing up. I feel like I feel like it's under one of those companies that owns like a bunch of different restaurant brands. I could be wrong.
Oh, you think it's still operating maybe? Like, because chat's saying it went bankrupt. So, but sometimes they go bankrupt, we know, and they still operate. I think the Red Lobsters are still open. So,
okay. Red Lobsters are still open, even though they declared bankruptcy. So,
do we want to talk DraftKings?
Yeah. Let's let AB give us the earnings on DraftKings, and then me and Christian will break down the technicals.
All right, let me get 1 second to pull those up here for DKNG.
Kind of same story here, where you've got, and he'll get the earnings in a second. I was just giving you a chance to get them. Stock gets hit on the initial report, but then it's again a loved retail stock. And what do they do when you're in a bull market on loved retail stocks? They buy the dip. I mean, I can't believe this thing went down to 31.5. That is an epic dip. I did not see that price. I don't know how many shares traded down there on the initial spike, but if that's the news algos hitting it on there, man, they don't watch pre-market prep, because that is an outsized move, and that's a crazy seller to sell that low on that stock. AB, what were the earnings?
DraftKings reported a loss of 17 cents that beat the loss of 42-cent estimate. Sales came in at 1.095 billion, that missed the 1.12 billion dollar estimate. And then here they cut the revenue guidance for they trimmed the revenue guidance for 2024. And then the CEO reaffirms focus on sustainable revenue growth. They said monthly unique players stands at 3.6 million. So either way, you had the miss on revenue, a slight miss, because they reported 1.09 billion. The expectation was 1.11 billion. So very slight miss there. But then that guidance trim, I think, is what scared off the market, and the stock took a big dip there.
Christian thoughts.
Yeah, so they mentioned, which I thought was pretty funny. It was that they mentioned that they dropped an NFL game outcomes hit outlook, and that there's been customer friendly outcomes in the NFL. Now, they didn't specifically cite you, AB, in the call, but I heard that you've been doing very good betting, and I'm wondering if you've had the experience where you've done very well, and if that's the case, if you've done very well.
AB rocked the earnings report. He's making too much money on DraftKings. Where do you bet? Do you bet on DraftKings, AB?
I do, yeah. So I use DraftKings. I kind of actually use like 3 different ones, because like different ones will offer different promos, profit boosts, whatever. So I kind of like shop around like any given night or day and see which one's giving me the best, perks there. So when DraftKings says that there's customer friendly outcomes, what they mean by that is that favorites are winning. So if you look at any given like slate of NFL games, when a team when an underdog wins that's not expected to win, typically the public is taking the favorites. And there was one week a couple weeks ago where like almost every single favorite won. Yeah. And I actually, I'm the opposite. Like, I'll take a lot of underdogs and stuff, and I like to go against what the public is betting. So if it's a week where the public does really well, AB probably didn't do that well, and vice versa.
You like to go for the big win. We've seen some of these parlays that he's turned like 700% returns overnight. It's funny. Kramer started mentioning last night on Mad Money, he had the DraftKings CEO on, and he started talking about parlays. And he's like, does anybody make money on parlays? Kramer's saying, this is just a way. And the DraftKings CEO didn't want to say anything about it because he doesn't want people discouraged from trading parlays. But Kramer's like, it's kind of impossible to make money on those parlays, isn't it? I'm thinking, AB does it. AB does it. He's good at it. But the DraftKings CEO didn't even want to respond to the question, because it is probably a pretty good moneymaker for them, because those are hard to convert, right, AB?
It depends. I mean, yeah, if you do because you can do a 2-leg parlay where you're picking, like I want the Lions and another favorite or whatever. And if they're both minus 200, it'll come out to basically even money. And like, if you're doing stuff like that, you can make money. What I like to do, like the big, home run plays. Like I had one going last night that was $15 to win 10 grand. That 3 out of the 4 legs hit, and I just needed like 20 more receiving yards from one guy on the Ravens. And like, I'm not mad about losing a $10 or $15 bet, but it's like, if he would have gotten 20 more receiving yards, it'd be like, awesome, I made 10 grand on $15. And like, stuff like it's like trading options, because you can have a smaller defined risk for the opportunity to make a lot more money, but your hit rate is going to be really much lower than if you're just taking straight bets.
And that's why you get those crazy odds too. They're really hard to get every single one of those bets to come in. So big payoffs, but lower probability, right? Just like trading, I guess, a little bit too.
So hiding in the background.
I do see, I hear a guest hanging out backstage. Why don't we go ahead and bring Mr. Joe Saluzzi on the stream? We do have our new guest intro, so let's go ahead and roll that and catch up with Joe when we come back. All right, Joe Saluzzi, welcome back to Pre-Market Prep. How are you doing this morning?
I'm all right, gentlemen. New intro. Very cool.
Yeah, we're trying some few things, because we've had a whirlwind week here too, Joe, where we were with Benzinga on Monday, and then they informed us Monday afternoon that they were going in another direction. So we're like, well, the show must go on. So we kept the Pre-Market Prep brand, moved it over to our own channel. A lot of our fans have followed too. We thank everyone again who has followed us over here. Joe's been one of our fans for a very long time. We have been fans of Joe Saluzzi for a very long time. I've known Joe since 2009. We've talked market structure with Joe for years. One of the advocates, who's written a great book, Broken Markets. He gets down into the plumbing of the markets and to tell you, what's working and what's not. But Joe, how have you been?
Doing well. It's been a fun week as well here. And first of all, glad to see you guys moved over. That's good. I mean, it's about the content, right? It's not about the channel. So as long as the content is there, I think it's all good. But yeah, it's been busy. It's been an interesting week, and we finally got through this news catalyst, and now we'll see where we go from here.
Yeah, what are your institutional customers saying? Because this has been a very interesting market where obviously, you've got the Fed speak yesterday, you've got Trump now, administration coming in here. What's the institutional customer thinking about, the administrative change? Are they saying anything, Joe, or are they kind of still, feeling okay?
Yeah, I think they're, politically wise, nobody talks politics, but
we try not to either. Let's stay in the middle.
But it was the thing where everybody, I think it was almost a unanimous opinion on the street, or everybody was saying this would take a few weeks to settle. And, shockingly, it didn't. And that's what kind of caught people by surprise, which is why I think we had such a huge rally there, because everybody was set up for a wait. And instead, they just came rushing in. Whether or not that rally lasts, I would expect it to back off a little bit. But does it, continue after that? I don't know. But there's certainly, the news is out, right? We got through that, and I think they're happy to see it go out, and you can now, get back to what you were trying to do. So, in other words, if there was money waiting to come in, well, that's it. If you were waiting to sell, well, then maybe you're thinking about getting going now. So the wait is over.
So let's take it to market structure here. We're going to get, obviously, a new administration. I don't know if that's going to make any changes over at the SEC, but where are we on this tick pilot here? Because they're talking changing the tick sizes, and it's like still it's obviously been out for comment period. I haven't seen the actual. Do we have an actual date here where they're going to start changing it? And what's going to happen, just for people who aren't following the story, is we're actually going to go to half ticks on a lot of stocks, meaning you're not going to see, your Bank of America. It's going to be quoted in half pennies. Do we have a date for when this is going to happen, Joe?
Well, we had a theory of a date where they said it.
I love that.
Theory, yes. I believe it was November of next year. So you're looking at the end, at earliest, November, December of 25. However, and we've already seen two of the exchanges come in, filing a petition in the courts. So here we go. The lawsuits are going to begin. They're mainly upset about the access fee part. So there was two parts of that rule that got parked. There's actually a bunch of parts, but the two main part were the half penny ticks for stocks that would be over 1,500 stocks that would now have a half penny tick. And then there was this access fee where we as brokers, when I go to access an exchange, I pay them up to 0.3 of a penny per share. That's the maximum access fee that an exchange can charge me. The rule said that drops down to 0.1 of a penny, or 10 mils per share. The exchanges don't like that. They're filing to block. In other words, we're going to the courts. So if there's any chance of this happening in November or December next year, I say no. I think this thing is going to drag out even longer. And back to the original part of that question, I think the SEC is going to be changing now. So everybody expects a new chair to come in, and obviously the president said that he would fire Gary Gensler on day one. People obviously in the crypto community doesn't like Gary very well. What do they want? Do you want no regulation? Do you want no enforcement? What do you want? Do you want, a commissioner that just comes in and just says, okay, do whatever the heck you want, run wild, and let's have all sorts of, problems later? Sometimes regulation's good, guys. It's not a bad thing. Encourage it and actually try to support it. So if the community does that and gathers around, so let's come up with some smart regulations, that's fine. But, whether or not it's Gary Gensler or somebody else, there's still going to be regulation.
Yeah, I think that's what the crypto community, they're used to no regulation over there. So any type of thoughts of regulation coming into the crypto, and they're like, whoa, back off. But the equity markets, just imagine if you had equity markets without regulation, where insider trading runs rampant, where you have people doing algos and everything else that we know and we've talked about for years, Joe, just going crazy here. I don't know. I like some of Gary's proposals. I was a little bit skeptical on maybe some of the tick size changes here, which but maybe to your point, maybe some of it really gets put on the back burner if we end up losing Gary.
Yeah, I think it does. I think the SEC is going to be it's going to be massive changes there, as other agencies as well. And that's going to slow everything down. So, These rules, by the way, while they are interesting and they will change things, they're not a big overhaul like we had of Reg NMS in 2008, in 2007. That was a big overhaul. That changed everything. These are kind of minor, the industry basically, once the industry got involved in the comment period, it changed everything. And while there might have been some really ambitious goals, they're really not that ambitious. It's not that big of a deal. So, but all these other rules and other things, like, everything's going to slow down now.
I have a question for Joe. They've been thoughts, or they've been talking about like extending the trading time, and where it's almost like going to be 24-hour trading. Like, how is this feasible? Like, is this a high probability that this is where we're going to in terms of extended trading hours? And will it be? Do you think it will be like the normal? Hey, we're going to have the 4 o'clock. That's the official close, and like, how will that work? Do you think?
Sure. Yeah, that's a big topic now being discussed. And so, right now we've got the regular market hours, 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. But there's extended hours currently that go from 4 a.m. to 8 p.m. And exchanges are out there, quoting during those hours. What they want to do is, from an exchange point, basically the New York Stock Exchange came out a couple of weeks ago. They wanted to do a 22/5 plan, 22 hours a day, 5 days a week. There's another exchange that's filed called the 24X National Exchange. They want to go bigger than that. I think theirs was almost 24/7. And then right now, there's an ATS operating overnight. And Dennis, this Blue Ocean, as well as Interactive Brokers. These are ATSs, alternative trading systems, not exchanges, that trade in those hours. So the exchanges have come along saying, hey, we want to get involved also. But there's a big problem. And the problem is that the SIP, or the Security Information Processor, that's how we see the quotes. That's how, when you're looking at your level 2 or whatever you quote you're looking at, you get it from the SIP. That needs to be extended. So the industry is going to have to put some time and effort into that. There's going to be a cost involved. In addition, there's some clearing issues involved, as well as limit up, down. Where do you want to put these price bands? Right now, they're artificially set at 20% by some of those ATSs. So there's lots of questions and lots of issues that I think they're going to have to work through. But there's no question that there's being a push here. It's not coming. I can tell you this. It's not coming from U.S. institutional investors. There is not one person, not one firm that I've spoken to that wants 24/7 or
want sleep.
No, I've heard people say we want less hours, because you know how it is during the day. It's the opening, it's the close, in the middle of the day is when there's really kind of slumbers out for a while. So it's not something that people want. Obviously there's some retail that want it. And from what we hear, there's a lot of Asian market makers and overseas, investors that are interested. So you got to be careful what you ask for, because you're looking for a whole new world of, liquidity fragmentation. Is that what we want? And segmented, it's going to be trouble, I think. And I think it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be a long fight as well. There's lots of letters being filed on this one already.
It's kind of, a no-brainer for the exchanges to go after this, though, because they see what Robinhood and Interactive Brokers have, and they're like, well, why don't we get some of that volume here, too? So it's not surprising to me that the exchanges are trying to go after some of that Robinhood volume here, too, because they see Robinhood doing pretty well with it. And, I do trade on the IB one every once in a while. I'm not up at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm getting too old for this, Joe. But if I was like 25 or 26 years old, I used to get up and trade the 4 a.m. open on the pre-market all the time. I'm just too old for it now. I'm getting tired. But I mean, there's a lot of people who actually do, retail traders who like trading these late hours. They're staying up, and there is different opportunities. The concerning thing for me is its liquidity. And there's a lot of times where you get somebody coming in that maybe doesn't know as much about market structure as me and you, Joe, and they come in just buying stock up, and you see these crazy overnight moves where, maybe they're capped 20%, but in some cases the stock maybe should have been up 2% and it's up 10 or 12%. You'll often see it even on a GameStop sometimes, on an overnight trade where it really starts ripping. But then when the actual exchange is open at 4 a.m., it's brought right back down. You just don't want to see people getting basically ripped off.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the potential for manipulation is a lot greater in a liquidity environment where you have very little liquidity. In other words, it's really easy to push something around. So let's just say I was a deep-pocketed, market maker from Asia, and I wanted to push a stock higher. It probably wouldn't cost me much. And then I can get some momentum moving by the time the U.S. retail comes in. And by the time the opening happens, I'd be selling those back to everything that I just pushed up. It's easily to manipulate. I mean, that's so easy to manipulate. So I would be very, very careful about that. Like you just said, Dennis, I mean, you're dealing with pros here. The guys who are taking and providing that liquidity, I should say, to these retail investors, no dopes. Okay, they know what they're doing, and they're doing it for a particular reason. So be super careful. Even if you're trading now in these overnight, actually, you got to be really, really careful and know your prices. That's for sure.
I mean, it's about being informed and uninformed. And, what we mean by that is just markets price. So like if people think informed means insider trading, it doesn't really. It just means markets are pricing in all relevant public information. When you get to these overnight markets, information is very, segregated, where you have, maybe somebody realizes, they've got an analyst print and the stock's upgraded and they're trying to grab it, in the after hours session or something from some retail trader that doesn't have that note yet. It's just, the market, information that's out there isn't very easy to get at midnight. News services aren't very active. There's some that are active, but, it's kind of like skeleton crews running them at this time. So that's the risk. I mean, so I would just say, to Joe's point, is be very careful if you're trading these overnight sessions, because, you think, you're getting a good deal on a stock, and just maybe, it's the other person's got more information than you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And probably likely. But that's why when I first saw it was a couple of months back, there was an article about on a Sunday night at 10 o'clock, and they were quoting a stock price. And I'm like, I didn't even realize those stocks were trading at 10 o'clock at night. This is obviously, Blue Ocean and those others have gotten a lot more popular. So yeah, be very, very, to your point, be very careful here.
Okay, so just other thoughts here. Joe, obviously, potential for Gensler to go out here. What do you see in 2025? I mean, if we're not going to get obviously the tick size changes here, probably, what else do you see on the SEC's radar for 2025?
For market structure, there's really, there were two other proposals that were pending. They had originally had 4 proposals. One was this retail order competition rule, which is basically dead from what we understand. That's not happening. There was another one called a best execution rule. FINRA has a best execution rule now for brokers. The SEC wanted their own. I think that's going to be tough to get through now as well. So, from a market structure standpoint, I see nothing happening for a while. That is what it is. Like I said, these rules were not huge. They're not going to change a lot. There are other things I think they should be looking at. I think they should be looking at the movement to off-exchange liquidity. We've got right now on an average day, 50% is on exchange, 50% is off, right? So we've got 16 stock exchanges and over 24 ATSs, or alternative trading systems, that the ATSs are trading 50% of the volume. And that's that kind of, now we're talking about fragmentation of liquidity and setting the right prices. And I'll go one further. Even within the ATSs, there's been a trend this year to segment the liquidity into what they call private rooms. So there are ATSs within ATSs, if you want to call them, or rooms within these ATSs where there's only certain investors are allowed into the rooms, and they know that who's in there. So it's, in other words, there's a word that we use called inaccessible liquidity. And a lot of retail flow for institutions is inaccessible because it goes to market makers. Well, now this is a lot of institutional flow, which is going to be inaccessible to others. So it becomes it's a selling point to institutions, because they say, hey, listen, you can only have certain people in here. This might be good for you. But the question that we have is it all being disclosed? Is it being transparent? Do you know you're in a private room? Is it fair to someone who can't get in that room? What we had was, Reagan MS was to try to create and display liquidity and get rid of some of the noise back in 2007. And what we've done over the last almost 2 decades is made that a lot worse. We've got fragmentation, segmentation, liquidity everywhere. So if I was SEC chair, and make me SEC chair, okay, but I'll do it.
I vote for Joe.
I would close them all up. I would tighten this thing up so much and get rid of the noise and get rid of all the non-transparent ones, and let's build deep liquid pools where prices are nice and deep, and you can feel you're not being ripped off and so on. Right now, you don't have deep liquid pools of liquidity. You have fragmented, shallow, thin crust of liquidity across all these different venues that fades as you're trying to hit it. And if you ever try to hit a stock, right, it starts to fade because the speed traders, they know you're coming. In other words, there's all these games, and they're unnecessary. It's unnecessary complexity. We do something very simple here. We buy, we sell, we put the two together. It's very simple. Stop trying to break it up.
That's it. They just want the middleman. The middleman wants to be a part of every trade. You want the Citadels and obviously, the other market makers. They want to get in the middle. They want to be the buyer to every seller and the seller to every buyer. When meanwhile, the exchanges are really built to put the buyer and the seller together, but they've tried to create this perfect system of middling everyone and forcing everyone to pay the spread.
Right, and they will say that if you take that away, liquidity will disappear because they're the providers of liquidity. And I would argue that, and they'll say that spreads will widen. And I'll say that, well, maybe spreads are artificially too small right now on some of these names. Maybe on a smaller cap stock, it should be a little bit wider. Maybe that's, and then you would find liquidity deeper at different price levels. So I don't necessarily buy the argument that if you do this and you take this away, then the market maker is going to leave and the liquidity is going to disappear. I don't believe that. I don't believe. First, and I don't believe we need 11 billion shares a day, which is where we trade right now. I think the regular volume is probably half of that. There's a lot of noise that goes through that. So this is never going to happen, by the way. So what we're talking about will never happen.
Fairy tale world here.
Watch the lobbyists running to DC, right? The money, just follow those guys around. The money that's out there that chases DC, politicians around. This stuff is built for the industry. They continue to tweak it in their direction. Listen, I'm part of the industry, but I'm an outsider. I'm a critic. I go out there and I talk about things that people wish I don't talk about. I know there's a lot of guys that have said, shut the hell up to me. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm an independent firm. I do what I want. I see them. I call them as I see them. And when we see something, we write about it and we talk about it.
Thanks, Joe, for being out there and looking after us on the market structure. This is Joe Saluzzi, partner and co-founder of Themis Trading. Broken Markets is his book. If you want to learn more about it, go in there. And actually, I'm in the book too. I think he gave me one or two pages in there too. So,
a guest appearance.
Guest appearance, yeah. So thanks, Joe. Always appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.
Yeah. So Christian, AB, back in the background there. I mean, Joe knows so much about the plumbing of the market. And sometimes, I feel like there's edge in just having that information. I've taught a few things, on the plumbing of the market too. And maybe, obviously, to some people, it's like it gets over their head. But, when you just simplify it, what Joe's trying to say is a lot of, the exchanges, if we go back to 20 years ago, most of your trades happen on the exchange where you put the buyer and the seller together. And I think Christian froze. He froze with his eyes closed. I put Christian to sleep. Oh. He's frozen. He's trying to come back here though. But it's a funny thing. It's like, market structure. AB is there though too. We'll get Christian back here too. But I mean, we went the opposite way where now we're seeing just trades happen everywhere. You try to lift an offer for 1,000 shares, you get 128. It's just, kind of a mess. The buyers and sellers just cannot meet in the middle here together. So, that's what Gary Gensler was trying to do with some of those changes. But, maybe that gets all put on the back burner here now with the new administration.
All right. Well, Dennis, what do you say we get back to some tickers? We'll do a couple more earnings reports. And then Joel should be back here in the next 5-10 minutes or so. So
can we do Pinterest?
Yeah.
Let's go to Pinterest here. I'm going to bring my charts back, so I got to just bear with me here. And Christian's going to come back on here now too. Let's re-add Christian. I believe we woke him up.
Hey, there we go.
It was you froze at the. I know you were frozen, but he froze with your eyes closed. Like, oh my gosh, I put Christian to sleep and he doesn't even move. Yeah.
Hey, it's a Friday. I fell asleep. I'm just kidding.
Presenting I'll give the numbers here for
window.
Pinterest, Dennis, while you get those charts pulled up. So Pinterest reported an EPS of 4 cents that missed the 7-cent estimate. Sales came in at $898 million. That beat the $896.3 million estimate. So very slight beat there on the sales by about 1.5 million, and they missed on EPS. They gave revenue guidance for the next quarter that was a 1.125 billion to 1.14 billion. The estimate was 1.14 billion. So their revenue guidance for the next quarter came in on the low end of expectations. So that soft guidance was really what hit the stock, and you're seeing it trade down today. $4 or about 12%. Let me see. I don't know what the implied move was here.
I can find out for you. Christian, what are your thoughts? Do the technicals here. Break it down on Pinterest here. I have mixed thoughts on this, but I want you to go first.
Pins. So this is one I don't trade that much because I don't really understand the company that well. Like, I don't know who still uses this one.
Yeah.
So I don't like, this is not a buy the dip opportunity for me, but I would watch, the level that I would watch is basically 29 from a technical perspective. And I would see if that can hold for the day. So that would be something interesting to pay attention to, but, yeah, I think this is a tough one. And I do have one that I might be looking to buy the dip on, which seems to sell off a little bit after some of these earnings reports. And just to change gears,
change it over.
Okay, so I was looking at Arista Networks. It kind of got lost in the shuffle because a lot of names reported last night, but
Yeah.
Arista Networks announced a 4-for-1 stock split.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, so and this is what, again, it ran into the earnings report like many names did, but I think if it can hold this the 400, like right around 400, I might be a buyer of this one. And it doesn't have to be today, but I think, I like to buy dips in this one, because the trend has been very strong in it. They do a lot of it's a very AI theme, but they're more like in the background of AI. And so this is one, yeah, right around that 400 level. I would be looking to buy the dip as long as that holds. What's any thoughts
I
on
think I'm with you, Christian. The Pinterest I'm mixed on. You do have Elliott, I believe, still in there, which maybe gives you a floor in that 28 to 29 area. But I don't really love that business either. I mean, I don't see people talking about it nearly as much. I mean, my wife used to pin everything up there now, and I don't hear her talking about it much at all anymore. I feel like it's a company that needs to reinvent themselves. Maybe that's why Elliott's involved there. But I'd more inclined on the Arista Networks as well. I mean, here's a stock closed at an all-time high. Stock has just been an absolute monster. It's gone from $51 4 years ago to $431. So definitely just been moving up so significantly here. We come back down 400 psychological level. I mean, maybe I wait a day because I'm never one that likes to catch the falling knife on day one. I usually like to wait and see some consolidation and then start to hook higher. And that's when I strike. But I think I'd have this one on my shopping list too.
Yeah, and I think the numbers were pretty good. I think that the EPS was very good, but I think they missed a little bit on the revenue. So that's why, they get very finicky once a name has gone up this much. If you miss on anything, that kind of causes the initial move.
So also reporting last night, let's go to Airbnb because you want to talk about a wild child and a stock that went everywhere last night. It's this stock. Give us the earnings here, AB, but I'm going to go and actually show you the action from last night, which was nothing short of incredible.
Yeah, so EPS of $2.13 that missed by 2 cents, revenue of $3.73 billion that beat by 10 million. So mixed bag there, slight miss on EPS that you beat there on revenue. The Q4 revenue guidance was below estimates. They said that they see Q4 revenue coming in at 2.39 billion to 2.44 billion. The estimate was $3.7 billion for the Q4 revenue. So, their guidance came in about $1 billion short of the expectations, which was about, a third of what they expected. I mean, that's a big revenue or guidance miss there for Airbnb. So mixed bag on the previous quarter, light guidance. And the stock, I mean, like you said, why? Because they when they reported the initial report, the stock spiked higher because the past quarter was decent, and then they gave the guidance, and the stock just went straight down.
Yeah, and we spiked. We were up 20 points on this report. It got up to 167, the high on that bar, if I just grab it, 167.22. Wow. And then she started leaking. And to your point, the guidance came and, the conference call came later and it just kept leaking. And now we're trading down at 137. So we're talking about a stock that just lost 30 points from the high in the after hours session. It was a wild, wild night for Airbnb. What do you think of this one, Christian?
This one's been tough. I have not been trading this one. That is a crazy, crazy move that you saw in the after hours. And I use Airbnb, but I tend to like some of the other travel names a little bit better. Like Expedia also reported earnings,
Yes, it did.
and that had good numbers. Also, Booking had, which reported, I think that was last week. But again, I'm just kind of picking up on some of the trends in travel, and I would rather stick with some of the winners. I also like this company, which didn't have a good reaction yesterday, but this is Make My Trip, MMYT, which is, I believe it's an Indian company, but I'm actually long this one. And it's got a nice trend, but it's whippy. Like this one is like a good, good one to kind of trade intraday, because it could really move. And I had a question for you too on something that we haven't yet discussed, but we talked about yesterday pre-market. We talked to sorry to change to change.
No, this is what we do. This is
okay.
a show full of tangents, and we go on tangents, and sometimes we don't even remember what we were initially talking about. So
Okay,
feel free.
So yesterday we talked about Qualcomm, and it was up.
Yeah.
And it was up after hours, and it gave it back.
All of it.
Do you think that this has anything to do with speculation that they might actually come in and buy Intel? So it's
I think there is a little bit of concern here from Qualcomm shareholders that they might overpay for Intel. This has been rumored. Qualcomm did not squash those rumors. Sometimes they come right out, the company, when these rumors start, and they say, no, absolutely not. We're not commenting on that. And when you're not commenting on something, it makes, the smoke get smokier, meaning that it's possible. So I think there is, a case here, and I think it's a good point you're making. I'm long both those stocks. I'm long Qualcomm and Intel. So I'm not even sure, if you make money when you're long Qualcomm and Intel, because Intel will spike if they get bought on it, Qualcomm will die on it. I don't know if I'll make money overall on that or not. I did argue, and I have been arguing, that I do believe under the new administration that Intel is a Trump stock. And correct so far, because we were talking about this at 24.5 on obviously the day after the election. And the stock has continued higher. We're 26. We're down a little bit this morning, but it's 26.23 the close yesterday here. I do think dips probably to be bought on Intel now, especially considering, we're going into a Trump administration that wants, tariffs, potential. It wants, stuff made in the USA. I mean, this is, what Intel's trying to build from their, foundries business here that they're trying to get into. I mean, it's going to be difficult. It's it's not easy to just, replicate what Taiwan Semiconductor has, but Intel could get some finance or could get some government money here. I think this is a Trump stock.
Yeah, it's just, to me, just looking at that price action yesterday, and the chat brought up a good point about they have this situation with ARM going on too, that they're kind of fighting with them. But I don't know, it just seems where there's smoke, there might be fire, because you normally on that kind of earnings report, you would kind of continue to go, and it has been stalling Qualcomm quite a bit. So
it has.
I'm just wondering if there's something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. But
I think so. I think this is putting investors hesitant, where you've seen obviously a lot of other tech stocks really taking off here. Qualcomm has not. It gets the spike on the earnings, which were pretty good, and gives it all back. I'm long Qualcomm. I'm probably sticking with it. I've had it in my long-term portfolio for the better part of 7 years. But, you look here, and a lot of times what I do, so just, it's trading strategy, long-term portfolio, a lot of times what I do is when I'm buying something long-term portfolio, if the stock doubles, a lot of times I sell half, and then I feel like I'm playing with the house's money forever. And that's what I did on Qualcomm. I originally bought it at 55. It went to like 125 or 130, and I sold half. So now I feel like I'm completely playing with the house's money here. And sometimes that's where these little winners become big winners. I always talk about my MasterCard trade. My MasterCard stock average was $11, because I was in it for so long. But when it had doubled originally, I sold half, and then I just kind of forgot about it. And I ended up making 2,100%. I am out of MasterCard finally now after all these years, but I think I had it for like 13 years in my long-term portfolio. Wish I still had it because it's still, sitting up near all-time highs. But I mean, sometimes, when you're long-term investing, sometimes forgetting that you've got something is the best thing you can do. So Joel's supposed to be coming here. We don't see Joel yet. Christian, Joel is in the background. So Joel is coming. What we're going to do is probably bring Joel in here now. Joel's here. He's got an interesting background. He's not at he's not at that fancy house that he was yesterday here. He's at some stock exchange or something now. But Joel, what's going on?
Board.
Just trying to get on. Give me one more second here. I'm trying to get all my audio. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, we hear you well.
Okay.
Do you want to go to the background?
Right. Yeah, put me in the background.
Okay, Joel put himself in the background. He's got the control and he's got the power here. So we'll keep Christian on here for just a couple more minutes because Christian's got to go trade the open. I will trade the open too, but I will stick with you here, even, in spirit. I'll keep my camera on for you guys this time as opposed to going in the background. Maybe you can watch what I'm doing there, but I just got a few opening trades to get out of. AB, we're 9:05 here. I think the ticker time, maybe, Joel likes ticker time. Maybe we should just grab some tickers from the chat.
Well, we also got a couple more reports we can go through.
Let's do it.
Quick.
Go.
Let's do
Either way.
Sony real quick, which reported this morning.
Sure.
So Sony reported EPS of 37 cents that beat the 27-cent estimate. Sales came in at $19.43 billion. That missed the $19.6 billion estimate. And they gave some strong guidance regarding the gaming sector. They said that the gaming was stronger than expected. They raised their full year outlook. So despite that sales miss, the stock is trading higher this morning, up about $1.25 or 7% after that report.
Here's a stock that's just been completely forgotten. I mean, it used to be a stock that everybody talked about, and now, it's like, oh, they reported this morning. I didn't even notice that they reported here this morning. It's interesting. Christian, what are your thoughts on this one, like long term? Here, we'll give you out some charts here. It's a stock that I don't trade anymore. I used to trade this a little bit, but I mean, there's your weeklies. The last 3-4 years kind of just been selling off from and just kind of sitting here doing nothing for 2 years.
Yeah, I think what you just said makes sense. I have not been trading this one for a while, and I think just that range that you're looking at there, I would wait until so this is a good one. Even though I haven't traded it, I would watch that $20 range. I think that's a great place to kind of say, hey, if this name starts to kind of break higher, maybe you've got a trade that a name that starts to trend. But it's been back and forth between this 16 to 19 level. And, I think it's best sometimes we haven't done that much trader education this morning, but alerts will save you. If there's something that you want to keep an eye on, you put an alert on it, because I could care less if the stock just keeps going back and forth between a couple dollars. You put an alert on something that might actually be breaking out of that range, and then you've got a trade. So that's how I would kind of look at it, is put an alert maybe a little bit higher than $20, and set it and you forget it, and then you can kind of revisit this stock if it does break out of that range. And just like we were talking about with Qualcomm yesterday, a lot of these are just kind of you don't know what's going to happen. And what makes Qualcomm interesting to me is just the chart pattern, and that it's been going in that range. So I don't really, it doesn't matter too much to me until it breaks that range and starts to do something exciting. So you put an alert on some of these stocks, and this way you can kind of, that's how you can really kind of scale what you're doing as a trader, because there are so many movers that we've gotten, not just with the Fed and the election, but there's been some really exciting earnings reports that we've been going over, and trying to hit as many as we can. And you only have one set of eyes to basically, so you've got to manage your process. And a lot of that comes down to your prep and doing things after hours, where, hey, this might be a name that you're interested in. It could be a name that, it could be politically motivated or have another catalyst. You set an alert on an interest point, because I'll have that as the day unfolds. I'll have needs, boom, an alert will hit. And that is a trade for me to say, okay, now we've got something that basically that's interesting. Hey, Joel's back.
Hey, gentlemen, how are we doing this morning?
He's in the brick wall now. He's everywhere.
I just don't tell Lisa, but I got in a little bit of trouble. I went to the grocery store and I was speeding, and got a little confrontation here. So
Did you get a ticket?
I got it. I'm down at the police station here.
They booked him. They booked him here. He's behind. He's been booked. Speeding and causing trouble. This is just Joel's life. He causes a lot of trouble through his life.
No, I just Christian, I just want to thank you so much for helping out on this week. I know everyone really appreciates your content, and you and AB just really appreciate transitional week here at PreMarket Prep. I mean, the chat's been absolutely incredible, and you guys are. I just can't thank you enough, Christian. So we'll be checking in with you later soon. Love your content, and really thanks for the help today.
Yeah, and before I jump, so thank you very much. And I just really have enjoyed being on with you guys. Your experience, and it's something that obviously it's been a very busy week, but your guys' experience is second to none. So I love that you guys are very savvy traders. You've been doing, you know the ins and outs. you know how to make money, and it's been a pleasure just chatting markets and strategy with you guys, because you don't get the opportunity to chat with traders who have been doing this for a long time, and they know what they're doing and so forth. So in short, I've really enjoyed it, and I look forward to being back.
Okay.
Thanks, Christian. We'll get Christian back on next week too. He's going to be helping us, a little bit more. And, obviously it's been good feedback with Christian here too. So we'll be keeping Christian and getting Christian on a lot more. Thanks, Christian. He's off. Joel. I mean, lots has happened here. And obviously overnight session, we've had a pile of earnings. We got a pile of tickers coming at you. Do you want to take over the charts?
Yeah, I can do. Well, yeah, just real quick. I just want to bring up my trusty data window here, and I just want to put an alert out to our traders and investors. And I'm not trying to call top. Okay, can I preface that? But we got a double top in the S&P.
I'm not trying to call it top, but we got a double top in the S&P. Look out here, Malo. Look out here. What's the top? Talk to me about tops.
And it probably, I don't know if the SPY has the same equivalent. Because,
well, I can't show the S&P futures quotes.
Okay,
I don't pay for quotes. So we got to go to your charts here. The reason I don't pay for so backstory here. I canceled all of my futures quotes, probably 6-7 years ago, because I'm a pro. And I have a pro license, and they wanted to charge me, because when I was Bright Trading, they wanted to charge me $700 a month for S&P futures quotes. And I was like, no, I'm out of here. It's $4 or $1 a month if you're non-pro, $700 a month. And I don't know, maybe the prices have changed there, but I'm like, they were jacking me from $5 a month to $700 a month for S&P futures quotes. And I was like, no, I'm out of here. I don't need it that bad. So I just use SPY. So you won't get any futures quotes on my windows, because the futures, they just jacked it up because I was pro. Hopefully, I don't know, maybe they've come back down. I should relook into it, but I do fine with just SPY. But Joel gets the futures.
First of all, Dennis,
so there we go.
First of all, I hopped on a few minutes early, and even though I've been haven't been on, don't ever say again that you don't use charts. Okay?
Why?
Because I'm looking on there and I'm like, are those AB charts? Those aren't Christian's charts. Those are Dennis's charts.
I never even used IB charts before. I have NeoVest, which I've used for years on my other computer. But I'm not a big technical guy. I respect technicals, but 90% of my trades aren't technical.
Chart guy, we got a new nickname.
You like my charts?
Yeah. Anyways, I gave you the upside bogey that I'm looking for, right? Because of the pair highs, and right there on the downside right now, I mean, not much you can look for except for a breach of the pre-market low. And after that, I mean, I don't know. There's, probably thicken up. I don't know if we have any economic data coming out at 10 o'clock, like the all important University of Michigan consumer sentiment. I'm not sure when that comes out. But pre-market low 90.25. After that, well, who knows? But AB, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, Joel. How are you doing? How's the trip?
The trip's good. But we'll why don't you, I know Dennis is going to.
I love this girl coming through the wall. You have the brick wall, and then I can kind of see your background sometime. And there's like a painting behind you, which is like, I almost want to see the painting, because I get like glimpses of the painting.
Really?
Like, what is that painting?
Everyone's going to laugh.
Show the painting. He's got a painting behind him. Can we see it? Show the painting.
Hold on.
These virtual backgrounds, they're interesting.
Well, I missed something else, and I didn't get to talk to Josh. I need like a green screen or something. Do I need that too?
You need to bring your banner down there, your pre-market prep banner here now. So our pre-market prep banner has been up there for years. It's been our show for years there, but.
Hold on.
Yeah, go.
I gotta stop sharing here. We'll give you guys a choice, okay?
Oh, yeah, let's see it.
Virtual background. Okay, we got this.
Yeah.
Okay, we could do this from yesterday. We'll show that one.
We see that one all the time.
Okay. This is the pre-market prep. Are you seeing the new ones? Yeah.
Yeah, keep going. Yeah.
And then this is the one Josh gave me yesterday. It says pre-market prep there. Right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then the painting. What's the painting in the background? That's really behind you.
Okay, here we go. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I want to see it. There it is. That's not bad.
Lisa, what kind of painting is that? Is that a Monet?
I think so.
Is it a Monet?
I don't know my artwork well, but that looks pretty nice looking painting right there.
Yeah.
Go with that. I'm done with the virtual background. It looks good. That's fine.
Okay, I'll stick with. I wanted to.
AB's got a painting behind him too. It's good too. We got to get them banners. We got to get AB a banner here too.
Yeah. I asked Lisa if I could take it down off the wall, and she said no.
It's good. The painting's fine. So no, I don't like the virtual background because you move your head a bit and then you're seeing it move out. It looks cooler like this. So I went with the painting background. Show us the real background. They like this. Everybody likes the real deal. Ticker time, folks. Ticker time. Bring out your tickers. We have Joel Alcon in here for the next hour doing tickers with you. I'm going to take you through the open. While you guys are giving tickers, I'm going to give a quick and balanced look here because we don't ever give this information very often because obviously, we're doing the first hour, but we're in the second hour. Square, which we have not talked earnings, so maybe we should start logically with SQ for the earnings print. AB will grab that earnings report while I'll tell you it's 123,000 to sell. Projected opening is much lower at 65 right now, but that's not going to happen.
Buy it at 65. Buy it.
Yeah, I'd be a buyer at 65 right now too. And you know what? Last night, if you bring up that pre-market chart, Joel, you had a shot down there near 65. This thing really got beat up. Not quite to there, but 67? How low did we get there last night? 67?
What was the straddle on this thing?
I can go find that information too. What were the earnings, AB?
67. I got 67.75.
So that
no, I don't, Dennis. Oh my gosh, Dennis, you're not gonna believe where this traded to.
65.
64.55.
The overshoots, these algos, Joel. I don't know if you saw Airbnb. Airbnb was up 20 points last night, and now it's down 10. I mean, that the moves here after hours. I think there's a strategy. Let's talk strategy here just for a second here. I think there's a strategy just to maybe play fades at the expected moves sometimes. And in Square's case, maybe it was too much. But some of these expected moves are so extreme. And then they seem to come back in. Let's go look. Square's expected move, just grabbing it was $8, Joel. I mean, these are just huge expected moves. So it was down at 67 was the expected move. When you get down below the expected move, in a lot of cases, those expected moves kind of act like a floor. Now, in this case, it would have went through it. Maybe it stopped you out, but it was so fast. It was down there so quick. I don't even know if you get a shot, off that opening print there. So I missed the earnings, AB. What were the earnings on Square?
So it's Block now, Dennis. You got to get it right. So Block reported
Block.
A Block reported EPS of 88 cents that beat the 87-cent estimate. Sales came in at $5.97 billion. That missed the $6.24 billion estimate. So that sales or revenue came in, below expectations. The guidance was a little bit soft as well. So you did see the stock, drop. You guys mentioned it. I mean, dropped right after the report and then started to come back a little bit. And now we're back at around $73, $74 a share as we head into the open.
Come all the way back almost. So if you were buying out down there, down 8 at the expected move, you're making 7 points here right away. I don't know. Okay, chat, stick with us here. We're looking at these different strategies, and this earnings season has been wild and pretty violent here. In some cases, you're going to get beats like Tesla, went way above the expected move. But you just wonder if there isn't a strategy where the stock gets down near the expected move, maybe play the fade trade a little bit, or up near the expected move, maybe play the fade trade a little bit there. I think it's about momentum too and understanding how quickly it's going up through it. If we look like we're stalling out at the expected move or spiking up to it and then pausing at the expected move, there's something to think about too. A little bit of tape reading skills there.
And also, Dennis, and we've talked about this, you have extensive, experience trading these pre-market and after hour moves and stuff. For people that are, not everyone even has it on their platform. A lot of times what I like to say is maybe use it to cover a winning position.
Yeah.
Let's say you were short or you had some puts and you wanted to be covered. Use the pre-market then, because if in this instant, let's say your target was 67, it hits 67, you buy to 67, it goes to all the way down to 64.55 and you're bumming, right? Like, why did I do that? And then look, it's at 73 1/4. So, it also depends on your level of experience, how long you've been in the markets. But I like to urge people, that if it's providing you with a profit or a target that's in your area, go ahead and do it. Taking a position like Dennis does, I mean, there's a lot, you go long at 67 and then you're at 65 offer, it's a little bit different, and all depends on the size you trade. But it's one thing that we've emphasized over the years, and it's important, especially if you're doing options. But I'm looking.
Let's continue on. Let's just stay with Square here just for a second, and I'll just do a setup of an options trade too, because you mentioned options here. And I mean, I'm not a big fan of buying puts and buying calls, but a lot of listeners are. A lot of retail traders love buying options. I'm going to say, one of the key things, and I've said this before, that options traders do not do to lock in gains is they just do the puts and, they wait for the options to open the next day. So let's just say from a hypothetical situation, you bought Square puts. You bought the 75s. They were going for $4. You paid $4. And you're looking here this morning, you're like, crap, I'm going to lose $2 here. Well, if you just sit out there and say the expected move is, what I'm shooting for here, if you're paying $4 for that, put, you could have had your order sitting out there at like 67 to buy the stock last night. So you own the put. Let's say you own one contract of the put. You can buy 100 shares at 67. And now you're locking in and doing what the option was designed to do, locking in that I can sell this thing at 75. So I just bought the stock at 67. I just locked in 8 points. But what you actually get is you get a look at the upside too. So if that stock rebounds and turns around and goes above 75, now you're making money. And maybe bring up Airbnb, because maybe this is a better example of what I'm talking about. Because Airbnb, and again, people say, oh, Denny doesn't trade options. Denny traded options for a decade. So I have a lot of experience trading options. I just don't do it as much anymore, mainly because I don't need the leverage. I'm just in a different position here where I want exposure to 1,000 shares. I buy 1,000 shares. When I was a young buck, 25 years old, I have the kind of money that I do now. But I mean, Airbnb might be a better example. So let's just say hypothetically, you bought calls on Airbnb. You bought calls. You bought the 148 Airbnb calls for $7. It was $6.70, but I'm around for $7 for simplicity. So the stock goes up to 165, which is double the expected move. Let's just say it goes to 160. I'm going to lock in my profits. So you throw out your order 160 to sell short the stock against your call, because 146 gives you the rights to buy the stock. You throw out your short order at 160. You sell the stock last night. It goes to 167. It went a little bit farther, but I mean, you've locked it in. So now you've locked in a 14-point gainer on your 7 points. So you've doubled your money. But what it has done is you're still open. So as opposed to selling the option, you're still wide open here. And what we've had is a complete reversal here, where now Airbnb is trading 10 points down from 147. So if you sold the stock short at 160 and you're still holding it, you didn't just make the 14, you're actually up 24 points here right now. So I mean, using the options for what they were designed for, as opposed to just buying and selling options. I always, as an options trader, when I was long options, would be offsetting with the stock. I would be using the stock, and like locking in profits by taking the opposite side. And that's the market maker aspect of it. So use those options. So we're just giving you different ideas here, but you always, like, people complain all the time, I wish the options market was open so I could sell my options. Well, you can short the stock and lock in those profits from the calls. Because it doesn't matter at that point in time. You're along the 146 calls, one contract. You short 160. You locked in 14. If you hold this to expiration, you make the 14 points. But why would you exercise that? Now it's down at 136. You picked up another 10. So you can lock in those profits, folks. When you are long calls and long puts, use the stock against those option positions. I should do a course on this.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends if where your account's set up and what you have for the leverage. By the way, that segment was just brought to you by the SIBO, the Chicago Board.
There you go.
My phone is ringing and it says the chairman of the SIBO wants to speak to us. So we will definitely be reaching out to the SIBO for the for that options segment there. But we went on quite a few tangents there. I just want to bring it back to to this Square, and there's just two quick comments that I want to make on Square. First of all, you do have resistance at let's see if you can fill the gap at 74.94. That was the bottom of yesterday's range, so keep an eye on that. And then sometimes another trick, what I like to do on days like this, PayPal's already reported, right, Dennis?
Yes, it has.
And it got hit, right? And it had a couple days of digestion, and then Mr. Market helped out with it, and it's back up. So maybe if you've been looking to buy Square on the dip, here's the earnings. See if it, trades in relation to PayPal. But that's what the PayPal, I got the daily up there. That's what it did off its earnings report. If you really wanted to try to buy the dip now in Square, I think you're going to have to pick an intermediate level. And oh boy, I think I'd be happy if I could see a gap fill here. Oh, you're right in that gap area, 72.90. So you're filling the gap. Next daily low, keep an eye on 71.63. That's only 50 cents. Well, now it's 70 cents away in Square SQ. All right, Dennis.
I'm getting words. Keep me on. I'm just going to mute myself. AB, you don't have to put me to the background here so people can see.
He's talking and he muted himself.
You got muted a little early. All right. Let's do Rivian real quick. I don't think we've discussed Rivian.
Okay, let's give me whatever fundamental, because I don't have everything open. You give the Rivian whatever fundamental news or rating change there was. Then do you have your charts up, AB, or not?
No, I don't have any charts.
Okay, no charts.
Okay, so Rivian reported an EPS of a loss of 99 cents that missed the loss of 92-cent estimate, so missed there by 7 cents. Sales came in at $874 million. That missed the $1 billion estimate. So you had a double miss there on Rivian, but they did reaffirm their full year delivery guidance, which was good news for the company. So, as far as like reactions to earnings go, this stock didn't really do much. It dropped initially right after the report, and then bought back a little bit, but we're trading pretty flat here as we head into the open, Joel.
Okay, let's get my Rivian up here. I have the daily. Let me go to the 30 minutes here, and let's change the time frame. Working on the fly here. Man, this is just it's not doing much. What is it? It's flat here. It's up 7 cents. I don't know. Don't have a great feel for this one. Maybe if you can just catch it, use that unchanged, and if you can catch a bid off the open, get into yesterday's range. We've sold off pretty good, opposite of the market. So let's see if the bulls are really, willing to defend this $10 level here in Rivian.
I'm going to come off mute here just for a second. I got most of my opening orders placed just to exit my positions here. I know this show is kind of weird this week, so I haven't been entering a lot of orders just because it's hard to do a live show and trade the open. But I want to talk you guys through it here because lots of interesting stuff happens at 9:28. You have violent moves because the imbalances come out. You get the opening projected prices here. Square is leaking substantially right now. The opening projected price is still 68. So if you bring up the chart here right now, we just dropped $2 because they're like this big seller here right at the open, and the market makers are selling and hitting the bids and obviously trying to pick up the stock at the opening price here. Square could open a little bit lower than it wants to right now, at least on the projection than it wanted to in the pre-market there. Also looking, Gilead is really getting beat here in the pre-market. At least it was. It's down $2. Gilead report, I think it was the day before, so I think this is actually just profit taking here, but its projected openings way down 95.65. The NASDAQ projected opening prices come out at 928, and they're a lot more relevant than the New York Stock Exchange ones because they lock in and they let market makers and certain people still place orders, but they lock other people out. So those projected prices on NASDAQ stocks are a lot more relevant than NYSE projected prices. Banks are all rallying here this morning. JP Morgan's trading up 1%. Projected opening right now is $240, so it just moved up another 50 cents. Again, that's an NYSE, so that's going to change. Projected opening bouncing around here, even going higher right now. Bank of America, I know we're flying around, we're going really fast right now, but this is the way my brain works on the open, so you're moving really quick here. You're in fast time. Oracle, 43,000 to buy. Projected openings way up at 188. This stock was trading flat just a few minutes ago, so it's moving up for that reason. I'm just cherry picking some that are looking like they're going to move away from where they were trading pre-market. Square is now looking like a 71 open. I wonder a little bit if that might open near the lows. 71.57. Let's see where square opens right now. Still not open. Waiting for the square open there.
Okay. All right. Just real quick, the S&Ps after trading red into pre-market just went past unchanged. Now we mentioned the pre-market high, 6,010. Wow, talking in the 6,000 handle. 6,010 is your pre-market high. If you're going to go with the momentum through that pre-market high, yesterday's high was 6,013. So the potential, double top that I mentioned there is coming into play. So there we are, 05. So we got bidders, 09 printing. Keep it on that. Dennis, is square open yet?
Going back, still waiting for the open. The NASDAQ opens at 9:30 right on the button. Square still has the DMM making the manual open there. So obviously it's a lot of automation that helps it, but they're like giving the green light. 70, 80, they're still moving down the projected opening price. This is interesting because it just moved down $3 from where it was 5 minutes ago. All on, a heavy seller at the open here. We'll have to see. Again, we're trading earnings stocks that can be wild though.
So there's two strategies here. If you had waited to, cover, if you had a short going into this, maybe waiting for the liquidity on the print, or if you're so inclined to, to buy the open on this one, the imbalance, but still jockeying around here. S&P still up near the highs of the session here, up 4.5 handles. I mean, on the downside here, the close, we've went through it like several times. That old-time closing high, I believe, is right 0375. We'll see if that holds up as temporary support. But when you've traded well under 6,000, it's not as a relevant number. But if you want to use the old-time mark for your positions today, there it is. 0375 is what you're looking at in the for the S&Ps. Airbnb, let's just check that out off the open. Down 1356. Holy mackerel. They are taking that out to the woodshed. Let's go to the dailies, see if we can find anything on the dailies. Next support. Well, I got something for you here, folks. I don't know what the low is 133, but if you go back to the end of October, let's just call it 132. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I see three lows between 131 and 133.17. Right now, your 33.17 buyers are leaning on that 33 low.
They still don't have the square open. They are bouncing this thing around. There's just a lot of probably trading action just happening right around, and DMM still doesn't have the opening print. I know you're saying, what are you talking about, Dennis? Square has been trading nonstop here. It's trading still pre-market actually right now. We have not had an NYSE open. So we haven't got the actual official open here yet where all the big, liquidity event happens here. It's still waiting for that. So open is still zeros here right now. Not an official open here. Again, NYSE stocks sometimes open well after 9:30. This is stuff we never get to talk about in normal pre-market prep. So it's like I'm teaching you guys a whole bunch of stuff here. And, if you like this stuff, give me a thumbs up. Let me know. I can keep talking, This is what, how I trade. It's a little bit different. A lot of people like looking at charts or looking at different things. I was able to pick up some Chewy just now at $31 here. And again, this is just day trading stuff. I'm probably going to flip out of it really soon here. But the stock was upgraded here this morning. It sold off in that opening thing. I picked up at $31. I just flipped out a little bit of $31.58 here right now. It's still
too bad little kitty's out. Little kitty sold.
Yeah, well, that was something before, but I'm just looking at it was upgraded here this morning. So if you go to Chewy and we go to our ratings, you may have it in front of you, AB too. CHWY was upgraded by Citi to buy. Sometimes what you see, and if you're trading ratings, is your stock will open up and then it'll give some back and then maybe bounce near the previous day's close. That's what's happened in Chewy here. So I had a pretty good little trade here just on Chewy just a few minutes ago. Still in just a little bit piece
what do you
here
think,
left.
32, Dennis?
No, I don't know. What do you think? I still have a little piece.
I mean, I don't know what's out there. It's only trading at 31. What's that?
I just sold some at 31.58. I picked up 31.
I'd say I would say 30. I know it's a lot on the bone. I don't know what the average daily range in this thing is. But 32 was your high on the 19th. So maybe try and hold 100, put it out there at 31.95 or something. I don't know how much it's actually already moved today.
Well, it's so again, it almost gave back the entire move, and now it's up 2.7%. Now it's up 3%. So when I'm trading ratings, I kind of like, what is it worth? An upgrade to Chewy from Citi, market's kind of flat, probably worth 2 or 3%. So when the stock comes down to almost flat, I'm like, I think it's giving me an edge. I think at 32, and Joel, your number is getting close to there. I'm still got the little piece on here. I'm holding it for you. I would have probably flipped out 31.58, all of it. But Joel's like, hold on for 32. So I don't know. I don't know if we're going to get 32. And when I'm selling 32, I usually sell like with 31.80s because then we get the big hole numbers. Sometimes they thicken up as you get close to it. So I usually sell a little bit ahead of it here. But I mean, Chewy's, it's bounced here. It did the typical, sell a little bit off the open, people, getting caught. And then, it's bouncing here now. The upgrades can work.
Yeah, and I just looked.
Tesla hit 300.
I just
303, man. Wow.
What?
Wow.
Tesla?
Did we talk about we'll do Tesla real quick, but have we talked about Doximity yet?
Oh, Travis, give me $20 for a 6-pack. He said if it goes to 300, he's giving Triple D a 6-pack because obviously he picked up Tesla. I mean, everybody who's been listening to Pre-Market Prep for the last 6 months, if you've been long Tesla, congratulations. This is just a huge move. If you want to ring profits into the 300 number, I won't blame you. I haven't sold any. I'm sticking with it for a while here, but I mean, it's been an incredible run and an incredible move. And, if you're a trader, maybe it's time to book some profits, but I'm sticking with it. 304. So he bought me a 6-pack. So with that $20, I'll buy a 6-pack of PBR.
Okay. So Dennis, you had to thank me for that rally yesterday because I said it wasn't showing a good relative strength. And then
the bots came in just buying. Joel, you're on mute. Joel, you're on mute. Toggle switch. Joel, mute.
Unmute. Dennis, you have to thank me for the move in Tesla yesterday because we were debating and I said it was showing poor relative strength and because it wasn't over 290. Now, I did preface it by saying if it got a 290 bid, that it could go. And within seconds, the bots were listening to the show. They said, oh, we're going to make Joel
It was the bots. It was the bots moving it off Joel's comments.
Exactly.
Where did I saw this Chewy? I picked this up for a quick scalp, and I'm doing it live. I would have been long gone, but he got me stuck in this thing now. He got me thinking the 32. I don't know. Dennis, it's pausing. Is it pausing to go higher? Do you think I'm getting 32? I'll leave it up to Joel. Joel will take me out of this trade. I got in it. You take me out. This is just a day trade, but this is an opening scalp.
What's the high of the day?
31.83. We just hit it. It's thin, man. It's thin.
What's
like
the
it's
average?
13 cents wide right now.
What's the average? Well, I don't know I won't tell you what I really want you to do.
You want me to put it in my long-term portfolio?
No.
I'm just joking.
I mean, 31.50. I mean, at 31.99.
No, it's tanking on us now.
I said maybe 32. I don't know. Try and get out at 31.60. 31.60. That's the next one. All right. Let's.
Yeah, So I bought at 31. I sold 31.58. 2/3 of the position. I got a third of the position here left. So we're sitting around here waiting on the last little bit here. I'm thinking it's not looking as good as it was though. So it's starting to leak here. I haven't sold, but I'm probably going to sell it in the next few minutes. So that's going all the way down.
All right.
Anyways, move on from Chewy. I'm going to get rid of it pretty soon.
AB, you direct us with the stocks. Let us know if there's any, from the chat, and we won't spend as much time on one stock. We'll move on quickly.
All right. Well, I want to talk some Doximity because I haven't given that report yet, which is your big winner of the day in the kind of telehealth space, or I think they help with.
Okay. All right. Let's talk this one. I do own this one. Wow. This is a Lisa pick.
Holy, we got Lisa on this show. She's hot.
Lisa. Hold on one second.
Is she here?
Yeah, she's here.
Bring her in. We haven't got Lisa on the show in a long time.
So Doximity, it's like a software company that helps doctors. So I don't know exactly, like it's hard. Lisa could probably tell us what they do better than me.
I don't know Doximity really. Like, obviously, I know what they do, but here's Lisa. This is her pick. Lisa Alcon, special guest here again. We get so many special guests on the extended show. Lisa, how you doing?
I'm great. Thank you. How are you, Dennis?
We're doing well. We're doing well. And Joel's telling me that this is one of your picks here. This was not a Joel pick, but Doximity trading up 34% here today.
Oh,
if
really?
I go into the top percent gainers, which is the best stocks basically, in the market here right now out of all the stocks that are in there, it's right near the top of the list. Trading up 35% here. What are your thoughts on Doximity? And you're one of those long-term investors that never sells.
Okay,
But
so I bought Doximity a long time ago when it first went out, and it hasn't done well. So I don't really look. But I think Doximity is a great platform, and that's why I had confidence in it. So I don't know why now it's doing well compared to before, but I use Doximity all the time.
what is it? Like, what do you do? Like, tell us about the platform.
All right, so there's different parts of it. Some of it is informational, but the biggest part for me is they have a something that I can call a patient through Doximity, and it shows that I'm calling from my office when I'm actually calling from my cell phone or somewhere else. I also do my virtual visits through Doximity, and it looks and so I use that for all my virtual visits, which is free. You can use it for other things. I get like information. You can fax through it, but I use it primarily for phone calls and virtual visits.
Okay. So, I mean, and again, you're obviously a long-term investor, and Lisa holds stocks forever here.
Ever.
When do you actually turn around and say, hey, this stock's went on a nice run and I'm willing to take the profits on it now? Or are you just Warren Buffett approach and you just hold those stocks forever?
I love him.
You love Warren Buffett. I love Warren Buffett too.
Yep, forever. Mm-hmm. Unless Joel really rides me to get out.
Joel will be there. Sell, Lisa, sell.
Exactly.
Get in there, sell. We got to sell. Joel's a seller.
I told you to sell Peloton.
Oh, yeah, he did tell me to sell Peloton, and I did.
But you're holding on that one forever too.
But I listened to him on GameStop, so that one I listened.
That was like the top. You guys sold that at the high in GameStop.
We did.
Like, right
That's
near the
all
top.
Joel.
Wow.
I would have held on to it. I'd still have it.
I'd still have it. Lisa never sells. I'm a long hold term investor there.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett approach.
All right.
Lisa Alcon. That's the famous Lisa Alcon that we hear so much about. Thanks, Lisa. Giving you your Doximity. And your key to long-term investing is to buy and hold and never look at it again. That's the Lisa Alcon key to long-term investing. She's done really well for us out there. Thanks, Lisa.
I don't know what happened to my trade station here. I wonder if I clicked it out here. Let me stop.
Yeah, it just went away. You bring it.
Yeah.
He's on a laptop here. Joel's obviously, working a little bit from a distance
Actually,
here right now.
I'm doing pretty darn good for. Let me go.
You muted again. Now we just jinxed himself. He's muted himself.
No.
Here.
I muted on purpose, Don.
Okay.
I wish I could mute you on purpose, but
Well, you can. Oh, you don't have controls. AB can mute me whenever he wants.
hold on.
I can mute everybody.
You guys do a stop.
AB's got the power. Okay. Upstart is continuing the run here. It is now up 31%. Complete, destruction to the short thesis here on this thing, because this thing has come back trail here. I don't know if Christian Fromhertz is he's looking pretty good on his spread, though, because we know Christian put the 60-70 call spread on there for $2.65. Right now, it looks like you could extract almost the entire value of it here on the Upstart move. So great call by our Christian Fromhertz. Affirm not participating. They reported earnings here too, and it is not getting much of a bounce here. It's down 5% here, trading near the lows, although I wonder if that 45 doesn't hold. 45.06, it's kind of a big number. It looks kind of like an area from where it broke out from back, in September. You had major resistance there. I'm always a fan of old resistance becomes new support, so I could see that 45 holding.
Okay, I'm going to go to Upstart in 1 second, but the double top I talked about earlier in the S&Ps?
Yeah.
It's a triple top now.
It's just trying to hold on.
Yeah. Let me well, I didn't
Well, if we
say
break down what's really happening here in the S&Ps, and the S&Ps are very flat here today. Mega cap tech's not having a great morning here. Microsoft is just turned green now. Apple's doing okay. Meta is down, Google is down, Amazon is down, Netflix is down, and Tesla's holding up the entire market here right now. Up another 8 points, folks. TSLA. Woo! That's Ric Flair.
Was there any news on it, or just more
momentum? They can't. They're scared now. Should we get Gordon Johnson on the show? We love you, Gordo, but I'm on the opposite side here in Holy.
You're doing such a good job with the guests this week. It's going to be your new responsibility, so I'll give you his.
Christian did such a good job filling in for you, Joel, and Christian's going to be a regular on this show. You know, we'll have to see what his schedule is. He's obviously busy too, but we're looking to bring Christian on a lot more.
Yeah, Chewy, good call, Dennis. The thing on the Chewy.
Yeah, I didn't get the last piece of it off very good. I got 31.50, and I was thinking if it got up to a little bit higher, got to 31.83, and then I just sold the rest at 31.20. So
I just want
it was good though. It was good.
The average daily range was because it moved up from 30.69, so that's $1.20 move. I don't think that moves more than like $1 a day or something.
Yeah, it's something to think about.
Yeah, that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
You said Upstart. Was that something from Christian
earnings? Here? Yeah, Christian was on the show when he was on it. He did the 60-70 call spread going into earnings. So what he did was, and he was breaking up a little bit when we were saying it, so I don't know if I have the exact numbers, but buy the 60, sell the 70. I think he put that on for $2.65. So he'd be looking to extract that extra $7.35 or whatever it adds up to here. And it's $74 here right now. So he's getting like a 3-to-1 risk reward on that. And it looks like if he's traded this right, he's probably making the whole thing.
Someone's saying Elon tweeted yesterday about FSD being 90% AI at this point. I already thought it was.
Yeah.
It was higher AI. But,
well, you know what? No, you know what he means by that, Joel, is, and it's fascinating. Like what they've done here is that the car is learning to drive itself. So you would think like, naturally it's all programming. Like, oh, it's got to be just programmed to go in, know these roads. Like Waymo is programmed to figure out, like it's basically on a track, and they program the track, and the car knows how to drive on that track. He's making the car like a human brain where it's figuring it out itself. So when it makes a mistake, that's why it's supervised. When it makes a mistake, it remembers, it's trying to figure it out. And that's why I've said, and people keep saying, well, Waymo, they got cars on the road, Dennis. They're way ahead of Tesla because they're actually already out there. That is missing the forest for the trees. Sorry to script the saying. I script all the sayings. But really what he's trying to create is a car that can think for itself, figure the stuff all out like a human brain, and then that car can go anywhere. Scalability is still going to be an issue for Waymo. Yeah, they'll be able to map out the other big cities. They'll be able to do all that. But think about if you buy a car. So I always think everybody thinks of just FSD as robo-taxis. It's not robo-taxis. I tweeted out a video yesterday. It's about the convenience of owning a car and the car driving itself. You're not going to go buy a Waymo. And again, if you bought a Waymo, well, you can drive in San Francisco. But once you go on a road trip, no, you can't use the car for that. Tesla's trying to create that whole aspect of it all. Like Gordon Johnson's been on the show and says, well, they don't use LiDAR, and the only way to do it is with LiDAR. Tesla did use LiDAR. They used it back in 2020. And Musk called it a crutch, and he moved away from LiDAR because he knew that was just a crutch, and the cars, needs to take it in a different direction. So what Tesla is trying to accomplish here is not just for robo-taxis, FSD. It's for being able to not do the monotonous task of driving anymore. And think about FSD for semis. He's got the semi plant that's going. You can just see the big picture of everything that's coming together in this beautiful, what he's, created. The guy is just an epic genius. 306 here right now. The Bulls have been right. The Bears have been wrong.
There's nothing in here on the weeklies until 314. But once again, go on your average daily range if you're looking for a target on it. They are trying to blow the doors off this triple top or double top. We're at the highs of the session. And I'm looking, Dennis, this is interesting. As you said, Microsoft in the red. Apple barely green, Google down, Amazon down, Nvidia down, Meta down, I had Qualcomm up there from
This
yesterday.
is Tesla's market now.
And what's Dennis? What's holding us up
Tesla.
here?
Tesla. It's becoming a bigger part, and just think, as it moves up, it's going to become a bigger part of the S&P component. So let's just go break down the S&P components here, Joel, right now. And Tesla's moved up a quick 25% here. So it starts to become a little bit more weighting in your S&P here. So I'm trying to grab it. Mine's not working here. Do you have it in front of you?
We're doing that, AB. Why don't you just go to the chat here, and we got 10 minutes left. Let's try and do 8 stocks in 8 minutes.
All right, let's do it. The first one I saw when I looked at the chat is Costco. So let's do that real quick. Costco is trading up this morning. It's up about 1%, up $10 to $924 a share. Man, is this new all-time highs for Costco here?
They're so busy. The stores just have it figured out. The company's got it figured out. It's always traded with a premium valuation, but it doesn't matter. The stock just continues to go higher. You've had to always ignore that it trades 40 times earnings, and if you've done that the whole time, it still trades 40 times earnings, but the earnings just keep growing, and the stock just keeps going higher. I am going to leave you guys early here today because I've got a place I've got to be at 10:30. I'm not going to get there in time. So we're going to let Joel and AB take you for the last 10 minutes here. Thank you, everyone. Everyone in the chat, it's been fantastic. Let us know if you like the extended show here. We're going to try to keep this for you, as long as we possibly can. Obviously, it's, we've got to figure out, monetization and stuff. Yeah, because we're zero revenue, but
hard, man. We're working.
We're going to work on some stuff. We're working on some stuff.
And I know you guys like the extra hour. I know you guys like the closing print. So
we're going to try to bring that back too. We're going to try to bring the closing print back too.
It's been a long week in the Motor City. So we're figuring everything out, what you can do to help. Well, first of all the tips this week, really much appreciated. Thank you very much. Also subscribe to the channel. We've had just an explosion in subscriptions to the channel. That's really important to us. That helps us get us back through the YouTube algorithms, and that's really important. Your feedback. Also, if you know people that were listening to the show that maybe don't tune in as frequently, please tell them where we're at. It's pretty easy, PreMarketPrep.com. Also our YouTube channel, but smash the like, guys. It's been a tremendous turnout this week. Really far above our expectations to do this. So we want to thank you all. Make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and we got a lot of surprises for you guys. You got coming up. Like you said, a crazy week. Triple D, go get in your FSD Ford 150.
One day.
And we'll get back to you on Monday. Okay, AB, now you are in control once again here. I just did the Costco. I don't know what to tell you about Costco. You traded a new all-time high here. You did back off the high of the session. Really, when things get to this kind of extreme, I look at like the average daily range, and I try and see what the expectations. Also, I don't know how heavily the options are trading in this one. But look at the optionality. There could be, a lot of 925 calls there that people are protecting. Thank you, Change Agent, for not sure what currency that is. But also, Joel Kensky, Costco could split. I mean, that's another thing when a stock gets up to $900. Yeah, split, 10 for 1. That would be an incredible thing. But look at your average daily range there in Costco. I think you might already hit it. Also, intraday, keep an eye on the intraday 50% retracement. If you're taking for a little bit of a reversal, you had so far 15-point move, 7.5. That puts you to 2150, 22. So as long as it stays above that 922, Costco, good to go north.
All right, Martin wants to take a look at SoFi real quick.
SoFi had the big run up in the earnings, and then I thought it got hit on earnings, didn't it? Oh, it did. It did get hit on earnings day. Got back under $10 and now screaming here at $12. Earnings dip. You would have to be a little bit patient on it. Let me go to the weekly. Man, I'm not seeing that. You seen anything here? I'm not seeing anything in the weeklies until the lower 13 handle. So actually 13 was a high back in March of 22, but we're only at 12. So that could take a couple days.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like for right now, it's still in this uptrend, and there's no clear resistance right at this moment. So definitely going to keep watching SoFi, see if it can continue this momentum. Let's go to SMCI. Joel, this thing was up like 5% pre-market. I thought finally we were going to get some love for SMCI today, but nope, it's down another 35 cents.
So is there any updated on their filings? Have they said anything about what's going on? I haven't been following the news on that.
Not from what I know. Let me double check here real quick. But yeah, I mean, from what I can tell,
Okay.
it's kind of just been the same story. I don't know why it was up this morning in the pre-market.
I mean, the reversal here, well, it still hasn't got above yesterday's low. Yesterday's low, 25.71. Still red on the session. I mean, if you want to try and call a top here, you're a bottom and you want to risk $5. Once you get above yesterday's low at 25.71, I think on this one, I mean, I think you still have very big volume. Let me change this to, I got a weekly. Let me change it to a daily. I mean, maybe looks like you still got a ton of people selling this thing. So maybe wait for the volume to, taper off, a little bit of consolidation, a couple inside days, but it still looks like there's big sellers out here. Yeah. Wow. That's right. Wait, the daily here. I keep changing the daily, and come on, chart. I just want to see the daily volume here. Let's see. You had probably a big volume day yesterday on the downside. Let me just use this. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, this thing trades a lot of stock. But give me something else here. Wait for it to go green at least. 88 million trade. Actually, the volume is coming down a little bit. 106 million, 122 million, then 88 million. So only traded 20 million today so far. Maybe you're getting the sellers out. I don't know. I mean, this is just the bad news stock. Between that and Boeing, I don't know if you can find stocks with worse news.
I see someone in the chat talking about Palantir, which is, I believe, breaking out to do all-time highs this morning. Of course, Palantir got a downgrade, shrugged it off yesterday. You have the stock that, I mean, you got to figure the new administration is favorable for Palantir, which, of course, Peter Thiel is a big backer of J.D. Vance when he made his Senate bid in Ohio, and Peter Thiel continuing to be involved there. Palantir up another 2%, up to $57 a share, Joel.
Yeah, once again, I mean, the only thing, I remember you guys talking about the downgrade here. Whew, man, the average daily range is probably expanding here. You've already gone 230 over a $2 range, so it is moving out. So expanded range day, if you're looking to sell, maybe use the half and whole numbers, starting with 57.5. If you're holding on for, the longer trade, just keep an eye on that all-time closing high price. That's 55.88 from yesterday's session. Unless you get a big turnaround in the market here, that's the best mark you've had.
What about ARK? I haven't looked at ARK in a while here, Joel. Hippie
How
Kitchen
is
asking for ARK.
Kathy been doing? Is she? I have not. I mean, I know she was selling. Oh, look at Kathy here. Boom. Let's see if let's see from yesterday. I mean, the way everything's trading, the way the market's trading, maybe hold out for 53.02. That was yesterday's high. If you have a short-term target there, looks like it opened near the low of the session. Not much. Also on the dailies, you've had some highs at 53. But if you can get some momentum through 53, wow, there was a big red bar day back a few months, more than a few months ago, earlier in the year. Maybe look for the yearly high. What's the yearly high in, Kathy? The yearly high comes in at 54.52 if you're looking for the target. SPOOs are now in uncharted waters here. We've cleared that, well, not for good, but have cleared that 60-13 area.
All right, we got time for one more, just random. Gonna pick the first stock I see in the chat. Looks like, let's go to LRCX, Lam Research.
Okay, Lam Research. This is one of the stocks that did the split and got murdered off the split, making a slow recovery here. I mean, it looks like you got a nice bottom in here. I don't know what perspective people are looking at this for the trade, but you are working your way into a big bar. It had a real bad day. Let's see what day that was. That wasn't too long ago. Oh, that was probably on the SMCI day. And boom, what was that? Wow, you had a high at 86.56. So a lot of people getting their money back from, what day was that? Boy, this cursor just does not work like the other cursors. Just above 85. You're looking at a real gappy area all the way up to 86.56. You did fill the gap that you had on that day because you had a high and a low. Well, there wasn't even a gap on that day. So next daily number, 86.56. So it's 10 a.m. and we're going to wrap things up. S&Ps did clear that area, just churning higher. It's going to be a good week for the markets. A busy week here on pre-market prep. Aaron, thank you so much for aptly filling in for us. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do that as well. And everyone, have a great weekend. We'll be back to as normal as we can be on Monday morning.
Let's do it, guys. All right. Thank you guys again for everyone who tuned in this week. Lots of moving parts. I will be, upgrading my setup, hopefully getting a real microphone and whatnot needed. With that said, take care. Have a great weekend, and we will see y'all on Monday.